What happens when two of country music's biggest icons clash on live television in a way nobody saw coming? Today, we're breaking down the shocking moment Reba McEntire walked off The Kelly Clarkson Show, a moment that started out routine, but spiraled into one of the most unforgettable confrontations in daytime TV history. The stage was set perfectly. Kelly Clarkson, glowing with her signature warmth, leaned forward with that familiar smile. "Reba, it's always such a pleasure having you here. Your new album is incredible. It brought back so many memories of when we worked together on that duet years ago." The audience cheered. The energy was high. But then, Reba's eyes shifted, her smile tight. "Well, Kelly, I appreciate you having me on, but it's funny how people remember things differently from how they really happened." The air in the studio shifted. Kelly's smile faltered. She tried to recover. "Oh, I think we both remember that session pretty clearly. It was such a special time. You've always been someone I've looked up to in this industry." "Looked up to," Reba repeated, her voice edged like steel. "That's an interesting way to put it, considering how that whole situation really played out." A ripple of unease passed through the audience. Kelly shifted in her chair. "I'm not sure what you mean, Reba. We had a great time, and I thought we had a wonderful working relationship." Reba leaned back, her tone turning cold. "Kelly, honey, let's not sit here and pretend you don't remember what happened. Or maybe you've told your version of the story so many times you've started to believe it." The audience fell silent. Kelly's face showed a flicker of hurt and confusion. "Reba, if I ever did something to upset you, I wish you would have told me privately, not here." "Privately?" Reba cut in, her voice rising. "Believe me, I tried. I called your people. I reached out through friends. I even tried talking to you directly, but you were always too busy. Always had somewhere else to be." Kelly flushed, clearly rattled. "Reba, I swear to you, I never got those messages. If something fell through the cracks with my team, I'm so sorry. But I still don't understand what this is about." Reba leaned forward now, eyes burning. "You don't understand? You took credit for arrangements that weren't yours. You changed lyrics without talking to me. And when the song became a hit, suddenly the story was all about your vision, your creative input. While my contributions faded into the background." Kelly blinked as if she'd been struck. "That's not true. I never tried to take credit for your work. It was a collaboration. Both our names are on it." Reba's laugh was sharp, bitter. "Sure, both our names are on it. But somehow, every interview, every behind-the-scenes story, it always became about how you modernized my sound, how you brought something fresh. Funny how that narrative developed, don't you think?" Kelly gripped the arms of her chair, her voice trembling but firm. "Reba, if that's how it came across, that was never my intention. You're one of the reasons I even got into this business. I have nothing but respect for you." "Respect?" Reba's voice dropped low, dangerous. "Respect would have been checking with me before spinning stories that made it sound like you were the teacher and I was the student. Respect would have been making sure I was comfortable with how that duet was being promoted before you went out telling the world your version of events." Kelly's composure cracked. Her voice rose. "My version?" "Reba, I was just sharing my experience of working with you. I never meant to misrepresent anything." Reba shook her head, exhaling sharply. "Well, Kelly, maybe you didn't mean to, but intent doesn't erase impact. And I'm tired of smiling politely while people rewrite my story." The tension was unbearable. The audience didn't move, didn't breathe. And then, with a sudden finality, Reba unhooked her microphone, rose from her chair, and said only, "This was a mistake." The cameras followed as she walked off stage, leaving Kelly frozen in her seat, stunned, speechless, and fighting back. Tears And just like that, daytime TV had one of its most explosive live moments ever. So here's the question. Was Reba justified in walking out? Or was this a misunderstanding that went way too far? Let me know what you think in the comments. And don't forget to hit subscribe for more stories like this one. And what about my experience, Kelly? Reba's voice cut through the silence like a knife. What about the fact that I had to sit and watch interview after interview where you went on about bringing your pop sensibilities into country music, using our duet as the example, without once acknowledging that maybe, just maybe, I knew a thing or two about crossing genres before. You ever showed up? The words hit hard. Kelly's face tightened, a mix of hurt and disbelief. Reba, I never said that. I would never diminish your career or suggest I taught you anything about music. You didn't have to say it outright, Reba snapped. It was in the way you framed every story. Young pop star helps country legend find new sound. That's the narrative you leaned into, wasn't it? Something shifted in Kelly then. The smile was gone. Her voice came low, steady, but edged. With steel. No, Reba. That was never the narrative. And I am sick and tired of you putting words in my mouth and intentions in my heart that were never there. Reba's eyes narrowed, thrown off by the sudden pushback. So now you're saying I imagined the whole thing? I'm saying the truth, Kelly shot back, emotion trembling beneath her words. I spent weeks preparing for those sessions. I studied your catalog, your history, because I wanted to honor what you've built. I didn't walk in thinking I was going to teach Reba McEntire anything. Then explain. Reba leaned forward, her voice sharp. Why every single interview made it sound like you were the creative driving force. Explain why your publicist made sure your name was listed first on half the promo material. Kelly blinked, stunned. My publicist? Reba, I don't control how labels format posters. If mistakes were made in marketing, that has nothing to do with what I said or didn't say. Mistakes? Reba let out a bitter laugh. Accidentally putting the established country legend second to the crossover artist? Just a little oops? Yes, Kelly's voice cracked as her composure finally slipped. Sometimes mistakes happen. Not everything is a conspiracy to erase your legacy. The audience sat frozen, the tension almost unbearable. In the front row, a few people exchanged uneasy glances, unsure if they were witnessing history or a meltdown. Reba's face burned red now, and the fact you're still making excuses proves my point about your character. My character? Kelly's voice shook, a raw mix of anger and hurt. Reba, I have spent my entire career lifting other artists up, especially women. I've never once tried to steal credit from anyone. Then why? Reba demanded, her voice rising. Did I have to watch you on 3 different shows talking about how you brought a fresh perspective to traditional country, using our duet as your proof? Kelly threw up her hands, exasperated. Because that's what interviewers ask. They ask about what each artist brings. I was sharing my perspective, not overshadowing yours. Your perspective of teaching the veteran new tricks, Reba sneered. Your perspective of modernizing my sound. I heard it on The Tonight Show, Kelly. I recorded it. The color drained from Kelly's face. I never said I was teaching you anything. If I talked about bringing my perspective, it was because that's what collaboration is. 2 artists blending their strengths. Collaboration? Reba scoffed, spitting the word. Real collaboration means equal respect. Real collaboration means the younger artist acknowledges what she learned from the one who's been doing this for decades, not the other way around. I did acknowledge it, Kelly's voice broke, raw and trembling. In interview after interview, I said how much I learned from you, how honored I was to share a stage with you? After the backlash, Reba cut her off coldly, after people started calling you out for rewriting the story. That wasn't humility, Kelly. That was damage control. Kelly's hands shook as she gripped her chair, her voice rising now despite the tears brimming in her eyes. That is not true. I never positioned myself as anything other than grateful to work with you. Grateful? Reba laughed, bitter and sharp. Right up until it came time to promote the song, Reba snapped, her voice sharp as broken glass. And suddenly, you were full of insights about bringing country music into the modern era. That's because that's what the journalists wanted to talk about, Kelly exploded, finally losing her composure. Her voice cracked across the studio like a whip. That's the angle they always push when a pop artist collaborates with a country artist. I was answering their questions, not hatching some scheme to steal your thunder. You couldn't have redirected those conversations? Reba shot back, eyes blazing. You couldn't have said, actually, Reba McEntire's been crossing boundaries and evolving her sound long before I ever showed up? Kelly's eyes filled, but her voice didn't waver. I did say things like that, Reba. Maybe not. In every single interview, but I did. And the fact that you're sitting here acting like I orchestrated some campaign against you, it's breaking my heart. Breaking your heart? Reba's laugh was short and scornful. You want to. Know what broke mine? Watching someone I supported turn our collaboration into a stepping stone for her own narrative about being some kind of innovator. Mentored? Kelly's voice rose in disbelief. Reba, we worked together for 2 weeks. We recorded one song. When exactly did you mentor me? The words landed like a slap. For a split second, Reba's face flickered with something raw before hardening into cold fury. When I agreed to work with you in the first place, she said icily. When I lent you my name and reputation to give you credibility in country music. That was mentorship, whether you admit it or not. Kelly stared at her, then spoke softly, but with steel in her voice. So working with me was charity? A favor to the poor little pop star? I think, Reba said slowly, deliberately, that I gave you an opportunity, one that opened doors for you, and instead of being grateful, you twisted it into a story about your own artistic evolution. Kelly's composure shattered. Her voice came out trembling but sharp enough to cut. You know what, Reba? You're right. That collaboration did teach me something about this industry. Reba leaned forward, eyes narrowing. Oh, really? And what's that? That some people are so insecure about their own relevance, Kelly said, her voice like a knife, that they need to control every single narrative, even years later. The audience gasped. Someone whispered, "Oh my God," loud enough to be caught on a mic. Reba's face went white, then flushed crimson. Excuse me? You heard me. Kelly leaned forward now, the professional mask gone. You want to talk about character? Let's talk about the character it takes to sit here, smile for the cameras, and then ambush me with accusations about things that happened years ago. Ambush you? Reba's voice dropped, low and dangerous. This isn't an ambush. This is me finally telling you the truth about how your actions affected people. No. Kelly's tone was firm, rising over her trembling hands. This is you using my show to air grievances you never once had the courage to bring to me directly. Reba leaned back in her chair, smiling coldly. So, it's my fault then. My fault for not trying hard enough to get through to the busy little pop star? It's your fault, Kelly snapped, for blindsiding me instead of having a grown-up conversation. It's your fault for assuming the worst about me instead of asking what I meant. You made assumptions, Reba. Assumptions? Reba's voice rose again, shaking with fury. I didn't assume a damn thing. I watched the interviews. I read the articles. I saw how the whole story played out in the media. And you decided I was responsible for every headline. Kelly, cut in. For every marketing decision, for every question an interviewer asked. You decided it was all some grand plan I orchestrated. Reba suddenly shoved back from the table, rising to her feet so fast her chair rolled away with a metallic scrape. The audience froze, wide-eyed, as the tension in the room coiled tighter, than a wire about to snap. You know what? I don't have to sit here and let you minimize what happened, acting like you're the victim. Kelly stayed seated, but her eyes locked on Reba. I'm not acting, Reba. I'm telling you the truth. You've built this whole narrative in your head, that I used you, that I'm manipulative, and it's just not true. Not true? Reba's voice shook with fury. Do you have any idea what it's like to watch someone half your age get celebrated for bringing innovation to music I've been perfecting for decades? Do you know what it's like to have your integrity questioned by someone you once admired? Kelly shot to her feet. And do you know what it feels like to be accused of scheming when all I did was work hard and answer questions honestly? Get their lane. We're face to face now, the coffee table between them like a fragile barrier. The studio audience held its breath. Reba let out a bitter laugh. If those interviews were honest, Kelly, then your honesty revealed everything I suspected about your ego. Kelly flinched just for a moment before anger overtook her. My ego? You came on my show to lecture me about gratitude, like collaborating with you was a charity case, and you want to talk about ego? It wasn't charity, Reba snapped. It was an opportunity, one most artists would have handled with more humility than you. Grace. Humility? Kelly's voice cracked. What would have been graceful, Reba? Pretending I was just lucky to breathe the same air as you? Should I have erased my own contributions so your feelings stayed intact? You should have. Remembered who paved the road you're walking on. The words hit Kelly like a slap. For a moment, she could only stare at Reba, hurt carved into her face. When she finally spoke, her voice was low, breaking. What kills me about this whole thing is, I thought we created something beautiful. I thought that song meant 2 generations of women coming together to make something neither of us could have done alone. Reba's eyes flickered, but her tone stayed hard. That's what I thought too, until you turned it into a showcase for your growth. I never turned it into anything, Kelly whispered, tears spilling now. I just shared what the collaboration meant to me, because that's what artists do. That's what interviewers asked. And it never occurred to you, Reba pressed, that maybe Reba McEntire didn't need a pop star telling the world how she helped modernize country music? Kelly threw her hands up. I never said that. I said you taught me about timeless songwriting. I said you showed me new ways to tell stories. After spending half of every interview bragging about bringing your pop sensibilities to country, Reba shot back. Because that's what I brought to the table, Kelly exploded. That's what collaboration is. You brought your history. I brought mine. And together we built something bigger than either of us alone. Something you then used, Reba cut in, as proof of your artistic growth. Kelly stared at her, silent for a long beat. When she finally spoke, her voice was deadly calm. You're right about one thing, Reba. Reba folded her arms, waiting.